Hello, I'm Bryan Atkinson and welcome once again to UK Aircraft Explored. In this video we shall cover the pilot's instrument panel within the Avro Lancaster bomber. We shall go through all the gauges and equipment as listed in the Wartime Air Ministry Pilot's Notes. I hope you find this interesting. The pilot's instrument panel forms the forward face of the cockpit area from the port to starboard sides of the forward fuselage. In the centre of the pilot's instrument panel is the standard blind flying instrument panel. This panel comprises of the following. At the top left is the airspeed indicator, which records the airspeed by means of the air pressure on the pitot ASI head located under the forward port nose. Next we have the artificial horizon, invaluable for blind or night flying. You will see the white aircraft representation at the centre of the instrument, and a white line representing the moving horizon. This instrument offers the pilot a means of knowing his aircraft's attitude in flight. To the right is the rate of climb and descent indicator, which gives the pilot a reading in feet per minute. Here we have the altimeter, which shows the aircraft's altitude. The knob just below the instrument can be turned to adjust the sea level pressure reading. Given by radio to the pilot before landing at any airfield, it enables him to adjust the dial to match the altitude above the approaching airfield, to ensure the aircraft's altitude is correct. The directional gyro gives the pilot the aircraft's heading. And lastly, we have the turn and bank indicator. It is used to aid the pilot in turning the aircraft correctly. The bottom needle shows the aircraft's rate of turn, to the left or right, whilst the top needle should be kept vertical to ensure the aircraft is making a correct turn without losing height. The blind flying panel was standard fitment in all British wartime aircraft. A visual direction finding indicator for the DF loop aerial is provided above the instrument panel for use in conjunction with the DF loop, as shown here. Two landing light switches at the top centre of the instrument panel control the landing lamps, one switch per lamp. With the switches at up, the lamps are retracted and switched off. At inter, they are switched on and moved electrically to mid-position, giving a dipped beam. And at down, they are in their lowest position and give a normal beam. We will now look at the undercarriage indicator and switch. On Lancasters 1 and 3, the undercarriage indicators show as follows. Undercarriage locked down, 2 green lights. Undercarriage unlocked, 2 red lights. And undercarriage locked up, no lights. The undercarriage indicator switch is interlocked, so that it must be on when the port engine ignition switches are on. An auxiliary set of green lights can be brought into operation by pressing the central knob if failure of the main set is suspected. The red lamps are duplicated so that failure of one lamp does not affect the indication of the undercarriage when unlocked. The lights can be dimmed by turning the central knob. The DR or Distant Reading Master Compass Mark I is mounted on the starboard side of the fuselage, just forward of the main entrance door. The navigator's repeater is mounted on the navigator's instrument panel. Here is the pilot's repeater, and the control switches are located at the bottom left hand side of the instrument panel. And here is a view of the DR Compass deviation card holder. The engine ignition switches are mounted near the centre of the pilot's instrument panel, to the right of the undercarriage indicator switch. Here are the engine boost gauges. The revs per minute engine speed indicators are mounted in the centre of the pilot's instrument panel, and the generators are mounted at the top of each fireproof bulkhead on the port side. Each RPM indicator and appropriate generator form a closed independent circuit in which current flows only when the generator is turned by the engine. Here is the booster coil switch. Electro-pneumatically operated slow-running cutout controls are provided on Mk.III aircraft only, and are operated by the 4 slow-running cutout switches mounted on the pilot's instrument panel, just above the engine starter switches. The switches are protected by a metal bar which prevents accidental operation. The pilot's master detonator switch and 2 detonator push buttons for emergency destruction of the IFF Mk.II system, that's identification friend or foe, are mounted on the main instrument panel. The engine ignition switches are mounted near the centre of the pilot's instrument panel, to the right of the undercarriage indicator switch. 2 magnetos are provided at the front end of each engine, of which only the starting magneto is boosted. The complete bomb load, excluding bomb containers, may be jettisoned after the bomb doors have been opened by means of this jettison handle fitted on the right side of the instrument panel. If bomb containers are carried, they should be jettisoned first by the bomb container jettison switch fitted to the left of the bomb jettison handle. Here's the oxygen regulator. The Lancaster's oxygen equipment consists of 15 bottles mounted under the rest couch in the central fuselage and connected by a high pressure pipe to an oxygen regulator mounted on the pilot's instrument panel, and then by medium pressure pipes to 4 manifolds. From these manifolds, low pressure pipes carry the oxygen to the economisers at the various crew stations, as shown in this diagram. The 4 cockpit feathering buttons are mounted on the right hand side of the instrument panel. When the cockpit feathering buttons are depressed, they are retained in position by the solenoid coils, the negative returns of which are taken through the pressure switches. The operation of the push switch closes the relay which controls the feathering pump. When the feathering action is completed, the rising oil pressure opens the pressure switch and allows the push button and consequently the relay to return to their normal positions. When it is required to unfeather the propeller, the feathering push button must be held in to the depressed position. The triple pressure gauge is part of the pneumatic system for the operation of the brakes. The brakes are applied by operating the lever on the pilot's control, and differential action is obtained by means of a Dunlop relay valve mounted on fuselage former F and connected to the port rudder pedal arm by a rod. Air is delivered through the filter to the differential relay valve. 2 pipes run aft and outboard to the port and starboard wheel brake units. A triple pressure gauge is mounted on the pilot's instrument panel and connected to each of these lines, and to the delivery to the relay valve indicates the pressure in the container and in each of the brake supply pipes. The automatic fire extinguishers, mounted 1 in each engine nacelle, may also be operated by the pilot or flight engineer from these push buttons located on the right of the instrument panel. A vacuum pump is fitted on each inboard engine, one for operating the instruments on the instrument flying panel, and the other for operating the gyros of the Mk.XIV bomb sight. The changeover cock shown here is on the right of the instrument panel beside the suction gauge, and in the event of failure of the vacuum pump supplying the flying instruments, the changeover cock can be used to connect the serviceable pump with the flying instruments and cut out the bomb sight. It is not possible to operate flying instruments and the bomb sight on one vacuum pump. Here is the Supercharger gear change control panel. On later Lancaster 1 and on all Lancaster 3 and 10 aircraft, the Superchargers are operated by electro-pneumatic rams of the single action spring return type. In the case of electrical or pneumatic failure, the rams will return to the M ratio position. A switch fitted to the pilot's instrument panel immediately below the engine speed indicators controls all 4 engines simultaneously, and a red warning light beside it indicates S ratio on the ground only, that is, when the undercarriage is down. On Lancaster's 1 and 3 aircraft, the flap indicator, shown here, is switched on by a separate switch. The pilot's instrument panel is fitted with 2 signalling switch boxes. The left-hand box is for the air-to-air recognition lamps, and the left switch only is used. The right-hand box controls the upward and downward identification lamps, separately or together. There are 3 downward lamps, and by means of the switches above the left-hand box, the required colour, red, green or amber, may be selected. The navigation lamp switch is mounted on the pilot's auxiliary panel on the port side of the cockpit. The automatic control steering lever Mk.IV is mounted here when automatic controls are fitted. The master switch being on the pilot's auxiliary panel, and located just below the P4 compass is the auto controls pressure gauge. The pilot's P4 compass for the setting or reading of the aircraft's course consists of a compass bowl resting on anti-vibration mountings in the container, which is mounted directly onto a tray at the bottom left of the instrument panel. A lockable rotating grid ring carrying 2 parallel wires across its centre is turned by hand to bring the wires parallel to the magnets, and the course is then shown on the scale around the grid ring. Here's the P4 compass deviation card, and here is the airspeed indicator correction card holder. The beam approach control unit is mounted on the pilot's auxiliary panel on the port side of the cockpit, and here is the visual indicator mounted on the instrument panel. Beam approach had a range of 2 miles, and this Lorenz-based beam approach system gave tired Lancaster crews assistance when making a blind landing at night or in bad weather. The watch holder was designed to do just that, and hold the synchronised pilot's watch at the top left of the instrument panel to aid viewing in flight. Details of the throttle levers, master engine cocks and the boost control cutout can be seen in my video covering the engine controls. Well, that's it for this video. If you like what I do on this channel, please click the like button and please subscribe, and also click the bell. Remember, it's free and you'll receive notifications when my future videos are posted. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.